is good, everybody? So, real quick, I wanted to go over the analysis here on CADPY. One of the trades that we actually had here in the auto trader, as you see right here, the entry being just roughly right at the very tippy top. We were able to identify a really good trade on this, so that way we could enter it right directly into an auto trader for all of our clients. And I do want to break down the actual analysis on the reasoning on why we took this trade and why it's profitable for everybody so far. And I just have the entry analysis, or at least the picture of it here. As you see right here, this is the entry as shown here on the auto trader. Again, just one of the trades that we have placed here alongside running some other ones as you see down here. A lot of yen pairs are traded. Some of my favorite markets to trade, always volatile, always giving you a nice idea of what to do as far as profits are concerned. So let's go ahead and break this down from the very beginning. So let me go ahead and delete everything, and we'll scale out from a higher time frame just to get a strong understanding of what we're currently looking at. You can go on to the weekly and the daily and all that. If we go on to the weekly, you can clearly see that overall this is a very bearish market. This is not an accurate trend line. This is just to show the direction of the market. We can see that this is the previous high up here, and with those highs, and again we're on the weekly time frame, so we're getting a big picture of this. So if we see this, we're just creating lower highs the entire time, which is just a strong tall tale sign of continued sellers. Now again, if I just draw an accurate trend line, we can see that at least from this angle here, we have our designated points of reference to actually make this a accurate trend line. This being the base, the start, this being the secondary, and this being the trigger, right? The trigger, the third touch of that trend line usually triggers the idea of the next potential overall move. If it is in fact respected, you'll be able to see that the market will continue to move in the overall current direction, which is obviously bearish. And the third touch is usually the trigger for you to place an entry, or at least look for the idea of a potential entry. So seeing that we have that here on the weekly, we can even do this here on the daily as well. I'll just have to create it a little bit differently, make it a little bit more clean in the sense of the analysis is concerned, but the same trend line nonetheless. And as we are going over this analysis, we can even see this on the daily continuing to push down much lower. So as I zoom in, just to get a little bit more of a clear idea of the current market, being here on the daily time frame, it's still very big time frame for us to get a strong understanding of what could potentially happen within this market. And if I just draw this overall trend line here, you can also see some very strong characteristics of continued sells, or again also levels of structure that could be mixed into the middle of it as well. So we can identify this really quick. We can see that this is the base, again the secondary, and then we have our trigger, right? The third touch of the trend line signifying that this angle here is actually as accurate as possible, and you can use that as a buy reference, or when broken, as we can see right here, we can see the break of the overall trend line here. We can see that there was a level of respect from these highs, respect here, came back up to test, or not retest it, to respect it rather, and then as soon as it was broken down, we have two levels of respect there, right? So we actually, if I delete everything, redraw this trend line, we can go ahead again, start from the base all the way back up here. We can see the connective point. We can see the break of the trend line, the respect, and then it came right back up to not only the trend line, but a level of significant structure. If we look left to get right, we can see that this was a level of resistance, then it was support. When broken below, it then ended up as a level of resistance two times, right? We can see this being resistance here, and then also that being resistance here. Now I know that's not where our entry is. We'll get to that area here in a second, but I want to give you the overall idea, right? We're breaking this chart down to understand the direction. Where is this most likely going to go? And a lot of the significations that we're getting right now, a lot of the ideas are complete sells, right? Break of a bullish trend line, the retest of that bullish trend line on the opposite end, signifying sells, and the respect of this level of structure as well, again showing you the overall idea of what the market wants to do. And we can also see here that it is giving us that idea. We're now getting lower highs as well. Not to confuse anybody, I'll get rid of this, and I'll get rid of this as well. As we are continuing, this is a high point on the daily time frame. We can draw a trend line out, and we can see that this higher high, or this high point, is higher than this original point here, showing us that sellers were no longer able, or buyers rather, were no longer able to bring this market any higher, break above previous highs, to bring in new buyers whatsoever. So what we are going to do is label this level of support here as well. Why would I label that as a level of support? Because we can see here, again, on the daily time frame, a strong time frame, a time frame where if you see a level of structure, a trend line, a fib ratio, that should be definitely taken into consideration because the history at that level of price is strong. And if we look left to get right, we can see how important this price is, right? If I extend it even further, we can see how it used to be levels of resistance and support in other areas of this market as well. But we're focused on right here, and we can see that this shelf, this price, is being respected pretty nicely. So that could be used as a target zone, if you will, right? This could be used as a take profit because if we sold from these areas and it comes back down to here, it can immediately start buying. And we want to take profits as fast, or not as fast as we can, but we want to take profits when the entire move is over with, so that way we can maximize our profits. And we're not there yet. So when we scale down to smaller time frame, you can kind of see that we're holding on to this trade until we reach this point and beyond. But what we're looking at again is this level of support, which could be used as a target or just something we need to label and mark up on our chart for future reference. Now, to get to the initial entry, right? Because we understand the overall market now. We have it marked up in a sense where we know the higher time frames are showing sells. We do have the respect and the break of a trend line and the respect of it on the outside of it, bringing in more sellers. We can see that sellers are pushing down. And the one thing I like to focus on and what I like to teach is understanding the patterns that are given to you as well. Patterns mean something with the market. And if you can't see the pattern that I'm speaking about right now as we're looking at this and I speak on this, want to take a look at this a little bit differently so that way you can spot these and get an overall idea. Then I'm going to teach you a little trick with this as well. So what you're looking at is a head and shoulders pattern. A head and shoulders pattern is a reversal, or in this case, a continuation pattern. In this case, I'd say a continuation pattern because we're already in a seller's market. And on a time frame like the daily, if you get this in the direction of the market that you're currently trending in, it's going to be a continuation because obviously it's going to continue in the bearish direction, right? So if I go ahead and I identify this head and shoulders pattern, this would be the left shoulder here. This being a beautiful left shoulder, this being the head of the pattern, and this being the right shoulder, right? Anytime you are looking at a head and shoulders pattern, you must identify that left shoulder price more than anything because that's where the majority of your entries, or at least the signals, the actions, the market leaving the clues behind will be at that point. So we see the head and shoulders pattern. When I was looking at this initial trade, if I'm correct, the market was somewhere roughly around here, right? Oop, didn't want to press that. So when I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, well, we have the respect of this level of structure, the support, and we can see that there's only going to be one real area for this market to retrace to, come to, and then respect in order for it to continue. And that's the left shoulder price of this head and shoulders pattern. That is a level of resistance. That level of resistance will be used as an entry point. So when we scale down to the smaller time frame, let's go ahead and get rid of this. When I scale down to the smaller time frame, such as the 4-hour, just to identify and get this a little bit more clean in the sense of my markup, we can see that this right here is the, in fact, left shoulder price. We can see that this is a strong level of resistance. Why? We can see how many times the market has came here and shown respect. And if not, came and broke above to then come right back down to give us another line of a line of respect, a breakout, retest, and then we can see that it cannot break above even further. And when we came back into the picture, we had an immediate and strong impulsive move back into that level of price, right? Anytime you are looking at a respect of a price and or a break of structure, you're never going to get a weak break of structure. This is not a weak break of structure. This is a strong break, showing us that it had to have force to break past a very important level of price and structure. And when we had another gap above, we can see that it came back to kind of respect that level of structure here. Gaps aren't always going to be perfect. It's not going to respect structure perfectly, but as you see, it came to respect that price anyway. And we did the same thing here, right? This is the right shoulder of this entire pattern. That right shoulder is a strong indication of we should be looking for entries around this price point, this resistance. Now, what was the deciding factor on the actual sells, right? We identified that this market is going to be selling on a higher time frame. We're breaking it down on a smaller time frame, understanding that there's a head and shoulders pattern. We scaled down to the 4-hour time frame, and we're marking up this level of price being the left shoulder price of the head and shoulders pattern itself. And now we're trying to identify the entries. Why would we enter after all of that work? When we scale down to a little bit further, because that's what trading is, we got to make sure that we are as accurate as possible. We had the idea of a double top at this level of structure. If I go ahead and I just draw this so that way we can remember, this is a level of strong resistance. And what we had here is a double top. Now, when you have a double top, if you can't see that, let's go ahead and draw that out here. This being the first touch of the resistance, this being the second touch of the resistance, a double top. The market had a strong impulsive move to that price, could not break above, had a minor correction. When it came back to test again, it was like, the grass is not greener on the side. You know what? I'm good. Let me come back down here and let me continue to sell. It could not break above that level of price. And with that double top, here's a secret for a double top. And you kind of see it happening, or happened rather, here. Get a very good picture of this, where I'm putting this line at. You see how perfect that is? We have a double top again here. Here's a little trick for a double top. Anytime you have a level of structure, resistance or support, whether it's a double top or a double bottom, it works the same. We have the market, impulses up, can't break above, made a decision to retrace lower to try to build up more energy to break above. It doesn't have the energy. It can't break, and it comes back lower. Now you're creating a lower low. You're breaking a level of structure, this being structure here. That is the support that needs to be broken to bring in new sellers. And when you have a double top, your entry is not up here. Your entry is at the break and retest of said structure. Your entry is off of that retest. So what used to be a level of support is now a level of resistance. And you look for your entries there. And what do we have here? The same exact thing. We had a level of strong structure. Again, we went from the higher time frame, we broke it down to the smaller time frame. We identified the area of interest that we would want to enter a trade. We identified the most relevant price, right? Because this is called price action trading. Identify the most relevant price, then identify the actions that proceed within them that will dictate and give you the clues needed whether it's going to be a good trade or not. So again, we are at a level of strong structure. Level of resistance. Got it. So that level of resistance, was it respected? Well, we definitely know it was respected because we got that double top. And with that double top at the high of that structure points, we then had a break of the needed structure, this support zone, creating a lower high. And the retest of that structure, the retest of that support, what used to be support is now level of resistance, will be your entry point into catching this sell all the way to the downside. Again, our entry somewhere roughly around here. We'll go back here in a second and take a look at that. If I lost you, I do apologize on the analysis. I'm just trying to break this down as best as my ability so that way everybody can understand the reasoning behind this trade. Especially when you've been trading for a while, you enter the same amount of trades or trades based off the same analysis. It kind of just seems just goes by really quick. It's elementary to us. We just kind of just see it in that sense. But again, we'll go back to the actual trade. As you see right here, entry was based off of that initial structure, as you see right here. Let's put a line. Everything I broke down, right? It wasn't the most perfect entry. We were able to get it up here, actually, which is actually much better at the time of me looking at the trade. Entering base, again, just basing it off of the retest of that initial structure. I know that the entry is a little bit higher, a lot better, actually. But the overall analysis is, again, we had that double top at a level of significant structure. We came back to retest that level of structure, which offered us a great opportunity to enter. So actually, our entries are up here, basically, right? Let's double check. Yeah, just in that wick, so even better entry. Now our targets are going to be at these lows down here. As you can see, this is going to be a level of strong support, and anytime I see a level of support after a sell, that could be a buy area. So the last thing I want to do is hold my trade when it hits a buy area, because it can eat up at profits. If I hold long enough, it can go against me too. So our targets are all the way down here, just about over 100 pips, or 198 pips. I'll make sure I close at 100. We should be able to get that at least. That's the minimum that I like to catch for all of our trades here in the Auto Trader. But again, that is the reasoning behind the trade, and the reasoning behind why we're holding this as well for so long is because we also had other indications on holding the trade itself. If I draw out this trend line, as you can see right here, because each time frame will have its own analysis, as you can see right here, we held this trade even longer until targets. We felt confident to hold this to targets because we still had more confirmations on this market to continue to sell. So with the break of that initial trend line, it gives us a strong idea to continue to hold until our final targets, because we have strong indications already that the market is, the clues that are being left behind from the market is telling us. And as we are watching this, as you can see, it is just pushing lower and lower and further into profits for us. And again, as you can see right here in the Auto Trader, it is a sell from the price up here, just about the 107 handle, almost just about there. So beautiful trade here, just breaking down the analysis and just helping you guys understand the reasoning on why we did in fact place this trade. I'll make sure that I put these out for you guys a lot more, so that way you guys get the education as well as the hands-free profits that our Auto Trader is offering for you guys. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the profits. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the day. With that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one. Tell somebody you love them, and I'll see you guys. Thank you guys.